Hi, it's me, Dr. Prasad Podilam. Continue my class for first PUC, that is +1 chemistry. Unit 12, class number 8, methods of purification of organic compounds. So organic compounds, organic compounds can be extracted from natural sources, or it can be synthesized in a laboratory or in a chemical industry. If it is not purified, it has to be purified. And there are many methods to purify organic compounds. Few of the methods are sublimation, crystallization, distillation, differential extraction, and chromatography. Okay, the chromatography is not only used for purification, it also used for qualitative analysis. First one, that is sublimation. Sublimation type of purification is possible for such type of solid materials which can be directly converted into gaseous state than passing through its liquid state. Okay, so we know if the examples are camphor, naphthalene, anthracene are example for such type of solids. If they are present, to purify them, a simple lab setup which is represented here. So here I represented the mixture in which the solid impurity, which has to be the material which we need to be separated, that is separated as darkened color, that is dark color, that is solid, that we need to separate from the mixture. And if it is in gaseous state, if it is converted into gaseous state, it will get the red color. That is schematic representation only to understand. So on heating, okay, so applying the heat or applying the heat, these molecules will be coming out from the mixture, the solid-solid mixture. It will be coming out as gaseous state. Okay, it will be converted into gaseous state. Okay, and it will settle down on the surface of the funnel or inverter funnel, which is kept. The inverter funnel is the cotton is there to avoid the escape of this gaseous molecule, and this is the container in which the mixture is taken, and there is an asbestos perforated asbestos sheet, that is asbestos having holes so that the gaseous molecule come. Okay, as soon as we cut off the fire, or if you stop the heating, then this gaseous molecule will start condensing. It will be converted into solid state. Okay, so we can say that these are the sublimates. On cooling this inverted funnel, or the funnel on cooling, the gaseous state will be converted into solid state, and we can easily separate the organic compound from the mixture. So this is the method known as sublimation. The second method, which is crystallization. So here I considered an organic compound. The black color represents the organic compound, and the green balls here represents the impurity present. Okay, so this is the system from which we need to separate the organic compound which is of our interest. Okay, so this can be done by heating it with a solvent. That means if you have to immerse it into a solvent, and at a normal temperature, if they are not dissolving, you have to heat it up. Okay, and these two are having different solubilities. Okay, on heating, these will dissolve easily, but at a high temperature they dissolve. But on cooling, what will happen? The system once heated and on cooling, only the compound will crystallizes out. The compound which is required for us, that will convert into solid state, that we call as crystallization, and whereas the impurity will remain as dissolved in the solvent. Okay, so such a type of compounds can be purified easily by method known as crystallization. Okay, therefore it is based on the difference in solubilities of the compound and the impurities in a suitable solvent. Okay, even if the impurity are insoluble in the solvent, then also it can be easily separated. No need to heat it to high temperature. Okay, now we have to heat it to high temperature, then only the crystallization is possible. Okay, therefore the impurities like the solvent which is required for crystallization, that are the one which dissolves more of the substances at a high temperature than at room temperature. That means its solubility property increases at a high temperature, or in which the impurities are either insoluble or dissolves to an extent that they remain in solution or mother liquor upon crystallization. Okay, so first point says that the solvent should have higher solubility property at high temperature. It should dissolve the solute at a high temperature, higher at a high temperature than at lower temperature, and the impurities either should be insoluble or it should remain solubilized, or it should remain solid, dissolved state in the mother liquid upon crystallization of the compound. Third point, which says that the solvent should not be highly inflammable, means it should not catch fire. Okay, the solvent, if it catches fire, then the expected crystallization cannot be done. It catches fire and compound will also burn it with it. Okay, therefore the solvent should not be highly inflammable, because we have to heat it to high temperature some cases, and it should not react with the compound which we want to purify. If they react, then we are not getting the pure compound will be converted into some other chemical product. Therefore these are the conditions required for a solvent. The example, if you see, the most commonly used solvents of that type are water, alcohol, ether, chloroform, carbon tetrachloride, acetone, benzene, petroleum ether are all used as the commonly used solvent for crystallization purpose. And the compound which we can purify with this, say with hot ethanol, if a mixture of sugar and common salt is there, by mistake if sugar is mixed with the common salt and we want to separate the sugar, it can be crystallized easily from hot ethanol. That means we have to dissolve sugar and common salt. We have to try to dissolve sugar and common salt in hot ethanol. Sugar dissolves in hot ethanol, but common salt, the salt will not dissolve. Okay, then further we can separate the salt out by filtration. Then on cooling, the sugar will come out from the it can be separated. Another example, that is mixture of benzoic acid and naphthalene. It can be separated from hot water. Benzoic acid dissolves, but naphthalene will not dissolve. It does not dissolve in hot water. Okay, these are the methods used which can further undergo crystallization and we can separate out. So these are the methods used which classify under distillation, classify under crystallization. The next method, that is distillation. It is a joint process of vaporization and condensation. That means converting to gaseous state, then it is allowed to convert back to a liquid state, that is known as condensation. So the important methods to separate are the liquids or the impurities, such that liquids are volatile and the impurities are non-volatile, so that the liquid can be converted into gaseous state easily at a lower temperature, and the impurities will remain in the flask itself, or the separating what the container. The liquid phase will be converted into gaseous. From that we can separate it and we can condense and we can separate it out. Or the liquid having sufficient difference in boiling point. If two liquid mixtures, if it is there, and their boiling temperatures are different, say one liquid having, it will boil at a low temperature, and the other liquid or other component of that solution, the other liquid, it boils at very high temperature, then the component or the liquid which is having low boiling point can be converted into gaseous state easily, and we can separate it and we can condense it to get the liquid. Okay, say example, chloroform with boiling point of 334 Kelvin, aniline with boiling point of 457 Kelvin. So this mixture, if it is there, we can separate chloroform easily because its boiling temperature is less at near to or just above 334 Kelvin or below 457 Kelvin. The chloroform will be converted into gaseous state, which can be separated. Gases can be separated, and on condensing, we will get the separate chloroform, and aniline also will be separated. Or a mixture of ether with a boiling point of 308 Kelvin and toluene with a boiling point of 384 Kelvin can also be separated by a process known as distillation. There are many different types of distillation. This is the simple setup, or we call it as simple distillation. We need a round bottom flask. So this is known as RB flask or round bottom flask. We connect it to temperature because we want to check the temperature. It should not cross the boiling point of the second liquid, which is having the higher boiling point. Then it is connected to a condenser, a long glass tube with a covering through which another liquid can be passed so that we can cool it. Usually water is used for cooling purpose. So water can be circulated through this pipe and it will not mix with the inner tube or whatever goes, that is separate. Okay, so for this surface here, it will be always cool because cold water is circulated throughout this pipe to sink or to a container, some other container. Then we have a vessel or a conical flask or any other vessel is required to collect the condensed or the converted gas form convert into liquid form. That type of the compound, to collect that we need a container. Okay, this is the simple setup for that. Say example, chloroform and aniline. If you maintain a temperature well above 334 Kelvin and well below 457 Kelvin, chloroform will be converted into gaseous state. Then it has to pass through, as the more chloroform content here, it has to pass through this condenser where the temperature is very less because of the circular movement of water, circulating movement of water. Therefore, it will condense out and it can be separated. It can separate out. So chloroform can be separated from aniline by this simple method. And same way, other example, ether with 308 Kelvin and toluene with 384 Kelvin, in which you have to maintain a temperature. Here the temperature has to be maintained well above 308 Kelvin and well below 384 Kelvin. Then ether can be converted into gaseous state and it can be condensed to get to and to it can be collected separately. Okay, I said there are different methods of distillation. The first one, which is known as fractional distillation. Okay, fractional distillation, in which if the two liquids mixtures, their boiling point are not entirely different, or they are almost similar or very near to each other. Okay, their boiling points are not much different. Then such type of liquids can be separated only by fractional distillation, because they will convert into gaseous state simultaneously in normal distillation. Okay, so this process is carried out in a fractionating column. We'll explain what it is. It's a long type of glass tube with some obstructions for the passage of the vapors, so that those two liquids having almost similar boiling point, they have to struggle to reach at the top of that column. Therefore, some obstructions are kept in which the gases can pass to up direction, and there will be a separate structure for collecting the liquid state which condenses. Okay, so this is the setup for fractional distillation in laboratory scale, or in a lab what we can set up. This is a setup for that, which consists of the column which we call as fractionating column. Two types of fractionating column we can prepare. One, the column which is filled with glass beads. Okay, that is very easy for a manufacturer to make. Or even a column, if we have, we can open the lid and we can fill with glass beads. Or there will be inbuilt fractionating column, such that it has got the passage for gaseous molecule. Gaseous molecule can pass through this, whereas if it condenses, it will settle at the at that, so that further we can separate the liquid, or the liquid can be removed separately. Gaseous molecule are separated, or it is taken for the condensation purpose. Okay, so this is the setup. Here a mixture, if it is there, it will be converted into gaseous state, and the one which is having say lower boiling point, out of those two, the lower boiling point liquid can reach to the top initially, and it can be separated. Okay, so say example, acetone with a boiling point of 330 Kelvin and methyl alcohol with a boiling point of 338 Kelvin, almost very close to each other, only 8 Kelvin difference is there. Or a mixture of benzene and toluene, 353.2 Kelvin and 383.8 Kelvin. Such type of mixtures, if you want to separate them or purify, one purify means if you separate individually, then we can say that that is purified. Or even to purify the crude oil which is obtained from petroleum mining, or to separate this crude oil into different fractions such as gasoline, kerosene, petrol, diesel, lubricating oil, etc. Also, the fractional distillation method is used. But this type of small glass apparatus only can be used in our laboratory. For an industrial scale, we need a bigger fractional distillation column that has to withstand very high temperature also. Therefore, a bigger fractional distillation columns are used in industries where crude oil is heated to high temperature. Okay, say above 600 degrees Celsius, it is heated and it is allowed to pass through the fractionating column. Okay, so it has got different columns or different layers So as the gas passes through this column to upward direction, you know, the temperature will decrease. Temperature of the gas will decrease, or the temperature present at a high top portion is less compared to that of at the bottom level. Okay, therefore there are different temperature ranges. Okay, therefore if the residues, that means the one which even at a high 600 degrees Celsius also, if it is not converted into gaseous state, that particular fraction of the crude oil is separated as liquid state itself. We call it as residues. Liquid or semi-solid state will be some fractions which is converted into gaseous state, but it converts into a liquid state at a temperature between 370 to 600 degrees Celsius. Those fractions are collected, separated. That is known as fuel oil. A fraction at 300 to 370 is known as lubricating oil. A fraction at 250 to 350 is known as diesel. A fraction at 175 to 325, it is called as kerosene, or even jet fuel also separated. A mixture, it is a mixture. Okay, mainly it contains kerosene. That's why I mentioned kerosene here. Or a mixture or a fraction which boils at 60 degree to 100 degrees Celsius. That fraction is naphtha. And petrol is collected at 40 degree to 205 degrees Celsius. And the uncondensed gases, the gases which is still not converted into liquid state, are separated and gaseous state, so that is less than 40 degrees Celsius. Okay, now these fractions has to be separated, has to be done fractional distillation further to get pure petrol or the chemicals or jet fuels. Okay, you cannot use as such this fraction for the application. That is taken out and it is further done fractional distillation with even lower temperature ranges. Now distillation, another method, that is known as distillation under reduced pressure. That is if in laboratory scale or in a industrial scale, industrial separation, if we cannot go for very high temperatures, but we have to separate the organic compound which can undergo, which can be separated by distillation, and we cannot go for high temperature, then we can reduce the pressure. If you reduce the pressure, that then we know that the temperature required to convert them to gaseous state, the liquid to gaseous state, or the boiling point will decrease. Okay, so this technique is used, or method is used to apply pressure or to reduce the pressure. A manometer is used to measure the pressure, what is the applied pressure. A vacuum pump, it sucks the air inside, or it take out the air, so that a pressure is developed inside this experimental setup. Okay, the remaining everything is almost same. Okay, are the round bottom flask with a side neck. Okay, then a condenser with water circulation. Then there's a separation to collect the distilled liquid. To that, the vacuum pump is connected, or the reduced pressure is applied, or the reduced pressure is applied at this point. That means to the flask or container where we are collecting the liquid. If directly apply pressure here or reduce the pressure here, the liquid may go to the vacuum pump also. It can flow out. Okay, therefore this is the experimental setup used for distillation under reduced pressure. Say example, in soap industry, the mixture of soap and other chemicals which we call as spent lye, which even contains glycerol. The glycerol is one of the important component which we can separate out. So the glycerol can be separated out with a process known as a distillation under reduced pressure. Okay, that is the best example to explain distillation under reduced pressure, separation of glycerol from spent lye. Next one, that is steam distillation. Steam distillation is applied for substances which are steam volatile and immiscible with water. So we have a mixture of compound here, which is a two liquid mixture, a liquid mixture. Okay, and it is not water also. So if one of the component of that, if it is immiscible with water, it will not dissolve in water, then that can be separated by this process. So here water is heated to high temperature, so that water is converted into steam or vapor, which we call as steam, and it is allowed to pass through a small tube to this container or round bottom flask containing the organic compound which is to be purified. So here the organic compound which is immiscible with water but steam is coming here. Therefore, here temperature will be increased. Therefore, that organic compound will be converted into gaseous state, which can be collected or which travel or passes through the condenser, and it can be separated. Okay, so the process, the principle behind that the liquid boils when on steam distillation. When the liquid boils, the sum of vapor pressure due to the organic liquid is due to the vapor pressure due to that of atmospheric pressure. Okay, that is P is equal to P1 plus P2. If here P2 is that of the vapor pressure of water, P is atmospheric pressure. That is, if one liquid boils, then we can say the vapor pressure equal to atmospheric pressure. Therefore, already we reached to a pressure which called as atmospheric pressure, and P2, that is water, is already in gaseous state. Therefore, P1, that is P1 is very less than that of atmospheric pressure. That's why it is in liquid state. Okay, therefore the P1, already the temperature is very high. It will be converted into gaseous state, or it will be vaporized even at a lower temperature than that of its boiling point. Okay, so that is the method, principle behind this steam distillation. An example for steam distillation: aniline from a mixture of aniline water can be separated easily by steam distillation process. Next method, that is fourth one, that is differential extraction. For example, differential extraction, say a compound A, it is soluble with the solvent X. So this is the a compound, or this is the solution from which A we need to separate. Okay, X is the solvent. Okay, to separate that, we are using another solvent which is Y, and A is more soluble in the solvent Y than that of X. A try to be in the solvent Y. Then such cases, here even the solvent X is insoluble with the solvent Y. These two will not mix together. X and Y will not mix together. They are immiscible. Then we can mix solvent Y with solvent X such that from the solution AX, A will dissolve in Y, and we'll get a AY, solution of AY, from which we can separate A very easily. Okay, so don't get confused. It can be schematically represented. Say organic compound in aqueous layer, that is aqueous layer or water, that is solvent A, and the organic compound A is dissolved in the aqueous layer, to which another solvent layer is applied, that is Y, and A is more soluble in Y than that of organic or aqueous solution, water. Okay, so the component A or the organic compound A is more soluble in the solvent, which is not water, than that of X, which is water. So if you mix these two, then this component A will be automatically, it will be moving to that of solvent Y. To that layer it will moves out, and which can be further separated. Okay, so this is the AY component now. Now we can separate out, okay, opening that fractional differential extraction column, open it, then this liquid layer or water layer will go out, the remaining is the AY component. From that we can separate A easily. Okay, then if the solvent, once we separate A from that AY solution, then the Y can be used again here to get more number of A molecule, or to get more number of the compound separated from the water layer, which we call as continuous extraction. Okay, therefore this method, because we need a large number of solvent, and each time we cannot throw out the solvent, or we cannot waste it out, therefore it can be further used, which is called as continuous extraction. The last one, fifth method of purification, which is also a method used for qualitative analysis, that is chromatography. In Greek, chroma means color. So initial days, the chromatography method, when it was introduced, it was used to separate the plant liquid or the plant extracts, which are always having color. Therefore, the name came as chroma or chromatography. Chromatography is of two types: adsorption chromatography and partition chromatography. Adsorption means something which is getting absorbed on the surface. Okay, it is not absorption. Absorption is different. Adsorption, it is a surface phenomena. And partition chronograph means it separates. It's not absorption, it just separates. Okay, then adsorption chromatography is further classified as column chromatography and thin layer chromatography. Okay, we'll see one by one. First, we'll go for column chromatography, which is a type of adsorption chromatography. Okay, in column chromatography, a long glass tube, which you call as the column, it is packed with silica gel or aluminum, which we call, also call as a stationary phase, or which is the adsorbent on which the compounds will adsorb. And there is at the bottom of the column, they kept a glass wool so that this silica gel or alumina will not fall out from that, or it will not fall from that. Okay, only the solvent layer or the it is mixed with the solvent. Now this stationary phase it mixed with the solvent, and even more solvent can be introduced at the top. Okay, so this is the setup for a column chromatography, which is an adsorption chromatography. So the stationary phase, which is, I explained that it is either silica gel or alumina is mainly used as the stationary phase. Now the sample which we want to separate. So this is a mixture of organic compounds, which is kept at the or poured to the top of that column or above the stationary phase, which contains even solvent, and even more solvent is poured or added to the top so that we can pressurize it, or pressure is applied so that it can move through this column. The organic compounds will move through. As it starts moving itself, there will be separation of the organic compound based on their adsorption property on the stationary phase. How much the compound or the organic compound, how it adsorbs on alumina or the silica gel, based on that the movement will slow down. The compound which is having lower adsorption property will move fast due to the gravitational force, and the organic compound which adsorbs more will move slowly. Anyhow, it cannot remaining there adsorbed because of the gravitational force. It has to fall down or it has to move down, but the movement will be hindered due to the property known as adsorption. Therefore, the name adsorption chromatography. Now, this the component having weaker interaction can be collected first, or we can eluted first. We call the process as elution. It is eluted, and this this phase we call as eluent. Okay, the solvent is known as eluent, and this is the eluted molecule. Okay, the first component separates easily. Then after a few times or after some time, the second component can also be separated. So this is known as column chromatography. The second type, that is thin layer chromatography, which we usually call as TLC. TLC means thin layer chromatography, in which a glass plate is taken. That glass plate is coated with a to about 0.2 millimeter thickness. It is coated with the adsorbent. Okay, we need adsorbent, that is silica gel or alumina. Now this setup or this glass plate with the adsorbent, now we can call it as thin layer chromatography plate, or which we call as chroma plate. This chroma plate, to that chroma plate, say from one side, say at the bottom, about approximately 2 centimeter, at that particular distance, the organic compounds can be applied, which we want to separate. Okay, the solution of mixture to be separated is applied as a small spot at one end of the TLC plate or the chroma plate. Then it is kept inside a closed jar with the eluent. Eluent means the solvent. Solvent, little bit solvent also added to that, so that the solvent molecule will move through this plate because of capillary force also, or the adsorption property also. Okay, so it will move through the due to adsorption property, the solvent molecule moves. You need to observe here. Okay, as it moves, as the eluent moves or the solvent moves, the organic molecules also moves with that. It get adsorbed slowly, and as it moves out, because of the difference in their adsorption property, there will be separation. The organic compounds, the mixture of organic compounds, it will start separating. Okay, so you can see that here they started separating, and further it moves, the molecule or the compound with lower adsorption, uh, lower adsorption will move faster. It will reach to maximum distance, whereas the one which having strong adsorption, it will remain or it will stay there. Okay, so you can say that from this compound or mixture of liquids, we can separate the different organic compounds, and the solvent molecule will reach to the maximum distance. So it will flow higher because it is less absorbing to the silica gel or alumina. Now, if you consider that this straight line as the starting point, or this is the starting point, and the liquid molecule or the solvent, not liquid molecule, cannot treat that, we call it as solvent. Solvent move to a distance of y, whereas the compound, okay, this compound is considered here. This compound, it moved to a distance of x. Then the adsorption property or the relative adsorption of each component, it can be represented or expressed as the retardation factor or RF factor, which is calculated as distance moved by the substance from baseline x. Okay, so this is a distance moved by the substance upon distance moved by solvent from baseline. So from baseline, the distance moved by the solvent is y. Therefore, x by y, that is the retardation factor in thin layer chromatography. Now the last one, that is partition chromatography. So we've seen two cases of adsorption chromatography. Now second one, that is partition chromatography. Partition chromatography, usually the pepper chromatography comes under partition chromatography. Pepper chromatography, in which a pepper is used, therefore the name pepper chromatography. It is based on continuous differential partitioning of components of mixture between stationary and mobile phase. Okay, there is no adsorption, but there is a partition. It will separate. Okay, say example, a pepper which is clamped at the top, when it is dipped to the solvent with containing organic impurities or the different components of an organic or different organic compounds, then they, along with the solvent front, even the organic compound also will move and they will separate out. Okay, so that concept is known as partition chromatography. Say example, if a mixture of non-polar and polar, say example, a non-polar isopropanol and a polar, that is water. Isopropanol water mixture is there, and if you keep a paper there, a chromatography paper, then the solvent molecule will, anyhow it will pass through that. That is solvent molecule here, that is water molecule, or even you can treat as isopropanol molecule. So isopropanol molecule also moves up, the water molecule also moves up, and it get adsorbed, not absorbed, it will remain sticked onto the surface of the paper. So here the paper, we know paper, it is a cellulose, it consists of hydroxyl functional group, and the water molecule, that is polar, that it can form strong interaction with the hydroxyl functional group, or the water molecule will slowly, whereas the non-polar isopropanol, it moves faster, or it will reach to maximum distance, whereas water molecule will, due to the gravitational force present, it cannot move further, whereas the non-polar molecule, it will further move to higher distances. Okay, therefore by pepper chromatography we can separate water molecule as well as isopropanol. Even the capillary force is there opposing to that of the gravitational force, what I said. So this is movement is due to the capillary force. The pepper surface act as small capillaries, so that the solvent molecules will move, which is known as capillary force. Okay, therefore isopropanol can be separated from water easily by pepper chromatography. So thank you very much for watching. Please share my video. I'll stop this presentation here. Thank you very much once again, and have a nice day.